This is a cash flow statement question. We're looking at Jackson PLC. It's the 2019 paper. Um, so we'll ignore what's on the left. What we're given in the cash flow statement is a balance sheet. We're given a balance sheet, and we're also, as usual, given a bit of information at the end. But the balance sheet's a little bit different because we're given a balance sheet for the end of this year and the end of last year, and therefore we can find the difference between how much, let's say, our goodwill has gone down from the end of last year to the end of this year. So you can find the difference between what happened during the year. Um, the first thing you look at when you're doing a cash flow statement is an abridged profit and loss. So what is an abridged profit and loss? An abridged profit and loss, I'm going to show you here a normal profit and loss, a full profit and loss from the gross profit down. So usually you'd work down to your gross profit, you take away your admin, your selling and distribution, and you'd add your operating income, and you get what we call operating profit. Now from operating profit all the way down to the P&L balance at the end of the year, there are certain things that fit into this framework. You've investment income, you've debenture interest, taxation if it was there, and then we have our dividends. Then you have our retained profit, your profit and loss balance from the beginning of the year, and then you get your profit and loss balance. So that same format, it's the exact same to how to deal with the beginning of a cash flow statement. An abridged, so it's only a portion of the profit and loss we're looking at, and it's only the bottom half because we have our profit and loss balance at the end of the year here, and we have our operating profit here. We have the same thing, profit and loss balance at the end of the year, operating profit, and I'm going to have to fill in these things. Now what am I looking for? I need to, as I said here, down here, we need to find the operating profit. Why? We're not given it here. Operating profit doesn't come into a balance sheet. But what we are given is all the other information. So I can work from the bottom and work my way up, whereas usually we obviously work our way down. This time we work our way up. So I can start filling in figures. This is for the end of the year, and this is the beginning of the year, end of last year. My profit and loss balance at the end of the year is 35,600. So that 35,600 can go in there. My profit and loss balance from the beginning of the year was 42,250. So I can put in the 42,250 there. Now, how did I get from 35,000, or how did I get from what I had, at the start of the year to what I had at the end of the year, the 35,000? I had a profit at the start of the year, 42,000, and my profit was reduced to 35,000. Therefore, my retained profit for the year has to be a negative figure because my profit has gone down. So my retained profit for the year is 6,650. We have to work our way up, so it's a little bit more difficult. You have to think about, okay, what's this figure going to be? And if I work my way down, I'd add this figure onto this guy to get this one. So if I have a figure here, X, and I add 42,000, my answer is 35,600. Therefore, X is to be about minus 7,000. So we see here minus 6,650. I would highly recommend you to work your way up, obviously, because you have to work your way up to get your figure, but also to look at this point and say, okay, does this make sense? Minus 6,000 plus 42 is equal to 35. Yes, it does. Okay, so I can move my way up again. Dividends. Dividends, I'm given information on dividends here at the bottom. My total dividend paid for the year was 6 cents per share. Well, these are my shares. I had 510,000 shares at the end of the year, and it was 6 cents per share. Therefore, if I multiply out my 510,000 by 6 cents, I get 30,600. Now this is my dividends per the year. This is my dividends. I'm just going to fill in tax, interest and investment before we look at the subtotals. So tax, I'm given information here on tax in the balance sheet for the beginning of the year and the end of the year. But if I look towards the bottom, they actually tell us what our tax was for the year. Tax charged and profits for the year was 51,000. So my tax charged was 51,000. Therefore, this guy here is 51,000, and I don't have to do anything else because I'm only looking for what was my charge for the year, how much belongs to this year. Well, 51,000 belongs to this year, so I don't necessarily here have to care about what happened at the beginning and the end of the year because I know how much it was this year. My interest, your interest is always worked out the same way. They don't give you your debenture interest for the year ever here. We're only giving our interest at the beginning and the end of the year. But our debenture interest for the year is calculated by looking at how much our debentures are and multiplying it by our debenture percent. But look at the notes. And in the notes we can see that debentures of 40,000 were issued at the 30th of the 9th, 2018. So this 120,000 was not my debentures for the full year. My debentures at the beginning of the year were 80,000 and they stayed that way until the 30th of the 9th. So only for October, November and December, those 3 months, did I have debentures of 120,000. So for the first 9 months, my debentures were 80,000 with an 8-cent return. So 80,000 with 8% return for 9 of the 12 months, because I didn't get this 40,000 until the 9 of the 12 months were over. 4,800. So what happened for the other 3 months? Well, for the other 3 months, I have the 40,000 as well. So my debentures is 120,000 by 8% for those 3 months. And that works out to be 2,400. And if I add them together, I get 7,200. So 7,200 is going to be my interest for the year. Now, investment income. Investment income isn't always in these questions, but it is in this question. My investment income here, I'm told the quoted investments yield a fixed return of 6% per annum. So what are my quoted investments? My quoted investments at the beginning and the end of the year were 40,000. I don't have to worry about the dates or anything. My investments is 40,000 by the 6% return. Sorry, it's down here. 6% return, and it's 2,400. So that 2,400 then can go in here. Now I have everything except my operating profit. So how do I work up to my operating profit? Well, I can work back from the information I have. I have dividends of 30,600. Usually when you work your way down, you get to dividends and you take dividends away from this guy to get minus 6,000. But because we're working our way up, we have to do the opposite. So x minus 30,000 is equal to minus 6,000. Here I have to look at, okay, 6,000 minus 6,000, and then I have 30,600 here. How did I get down to minus 6,000? Instead of taking away, I'm going to add my 30,000 here. My figure is 23,950. That can get confusing for people because you kind of have to ignore the fact that I have usually take away this figure. The easiest way to go about it is to just give it a go. If you get 36,000 here, or if you get 23,000, 24,000, whichever one from just putting it into your calculator, give it a go, but always double check. Okay, now I have this guy. Does this make sense? 23,000 minus 30,000, about 7,000. Yes, that makes sense. Otherwise, you could end up here saying, okay, minus 36,000, and then you'd look at it and you'd say, okay, 36 minus 30. No, that doesn't make sense. So work your way up. People do make mistakes, but the most important thing is to go back and say, does this make sense? 23,000 minus 30,000 minus 7,000 approximately. Yes, that makes sense. So my taxation we'd already worked out to be 51,000. I have X here. I took away 51,000 and I got down to 23,950. So again, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add my tax on, and now my figure is 74,950. Does it make sense? 75,000 minus 51,000, 24,000 approximately. That makes sense. So just work your way down um, in your head and say, okay, does this make some bit of sense? My last two figures here, I usually take away interest, but I'm going to add it. I'd usually add investment income to my figure up here, but I'm going to take it away from this guy here. And the figure I'm left with is my top figure, my operating profit. Again, always double check. Now we can work our way down and it makes more sense in our head. So this is approximately 80,000. If I add 2,000 onto it, it's 82,000. If I take 7,000 off it, it's 75,000. So that makes sense. Otherwise, if you end up here with 84,000 and you work your way down and you find out, okay, that doesn't make sense in my head, roughly, then you can double check it. But just take rough figures here in your head and work your way down and just double check. As you can see, we didn't have to do too much here. And we only had to do 3 notes. And there was other parts of this that we were basically just taking figures from the question. So the only difficulty here is in making sure that you add it and subtract it correctly, and also that you know the format. This has to be in the format that's given. Providing you learn the format, and providing you double check your answers by working down at the end, then it's very easy to get, and this is generally worth about 20 marks. They don't tell us the breakdown here, but it's generally worth about 20% of the paper, of the cash flow question. So for very little notes, generally they can be an easy 20% of the question to pick up.